Winter has always stood out to me. She's one of those idols that you can't help but notice. Whether it be her mesmerizing vocals, her striking visuals in practically every comeback, or the fact she's the biggest introvert in the group. Like, just look at the dichotomy here.
멤버들이 참 밝은 것 같아요.
That introversion brought its own questions when I started deep diving her. For example,
그 버스 탈 때 그 버튼도 못 눌렀어요. 뭔가 주목받는 것 같고 그래서 그냥 그 다음 정류장에 누가 내리면 그냥 같이 내리고.
How can someone that is that introverted to the point of not even being able to request a stop on a bus become one of the 4 pillars of SM's 4th generation girl group? That's the question I set out to answer today. We'll be taking a comprehensive look at her journey, from her childhood to becoming the top-tier idol she is today, while trying to uncover her mindset and philosophy. While it wasn't easy breaking past the ice, I've managed to gather the bits and pieces she's shared to paint a clearer picture of the Kim Minjeong story. But of course, to do that, we need to go all the way back to the very beginning. Kim Minjeong was born on January 1st, 2001, a birth date that always makes for a good topic on variety shows.
김민정, 010101.
While she was born in Nampodong, Busan, she lived in the neighboring Yangsan for most of her childhood. She has one older brother and grew up in a military family, which led to early aspirations of becoming a soldier. Now, while Winter could potentially be the most aesthetic soldier on the planet, someone please draw that, it was music that managed to capture her and her brother's heart. She says that her and her brother would play the fake guitar and sing and dance around to music. This wasn't just make-believe though. Her brother later joined a band as a guitarist, and Winter took piano lessons. She even got second place at a national music competition in elementary school, but after seeing how good people could get at piano, she lost motivation and quit. I'm sure that's relatable for some people. But when it came to singing, that was a different story. She tells Vogue Singapore that, "I've always had respect for singers I see on television. I wanted to be able to sing like them and become someone who is a bright light like they are, and one who embodies hope." It was this deep desire from watching shows like I'm a Singer and Immortal Songs that solidified her desire to become a famous singer. That and, well, I had a huge crush on the Korean actor Kwon Sang-woo. I told my mom that I wanted to marry him. She insisted that you have to become a celebrity if you want to marry another celebrity, so that really motivated me. I've also always been fascinated by people on stage, so eventually I realized I wanted to be there as well. I think what's worth realizing from these interviews is that despite her intense introversion, Winter is the sort of person that feels enlivened by the stage. It's clear being an idol is far from just a job to her. Music is her #1 passion, and one of the only drives that transcends her shyness. That and, having a celebrity crush. We'll talk more about just how deeply Winter cares about music later on. But like the true introvert she is, she didn't tell anyone her dreams of becoming a celebrity, not even her own parents. She would still practice singing and dancing, however, and attended a dance festival in 2016, where she was struck by luck and found herself in the dream situation of every idol wannabe. She got casted. Now luckily, it wasn't by Blockberry. That would have been an interesting timeline, but by SM. Well, sort of luckily. And just like Karina, she thought it was a scammer at first.
저도 근데 사기꾼인 줄 알았어요. 그래서 그 사옥 가기 전까지 의심을 했어요. 제가 그래서 그분이 이제 그 명함 이렇게 딱 보여주면서 맞지 막 이러면서.
The path to debut wasn't simple. She went straight from Busan to Seoul and had to sing several songs for hours straight in front of a camera, some of which are on screen right now. She tells us that it was a little scary, to say the least.
좀 무서웠어요.
왜요?
다 서울 사람들이고 말투도 너무 착한데 제가 뭐라 툭하면 또 상처받을 것 같고.
Winter's Busan dialect is adored by the Korean audience. The comments whenever she speaks it prove that. But it led to a few moments of confusion in Seoul and her doctor appointments, so she had to try and get rid of it. Some of it still leaks through though.
이거 할 때 혹시 이래 설 수 있어? 근데 그러면 안쪽도 조금.
As a trainee, all the other Aespa members really viewed her as a baby. Quiet, gentle, and seeming a little unsure of herself. But her skill and hard work in singing made her a top contender for the Aespa lineup. After talking more with Karina, Ningning, and later Giselle when she joined, she quickly found out that her fellow trainees were one of the biggest sources of comfort to her. On the show Pingyego, she reminisces about one of the standout moments of her pre-debut life, when her and Karina snuck out of the dorms, past their sleeping manager, and ate gamjatang, watching the sunrise together. How dreamy. She also reminisces about how soon after they debuted, her and the members went for a long walk together to refresh and had a heart-to-heart about how each one of us was feeling. It meant a lot to be able to share my personal feelings with the members. They understand me better than anyone else, and I was reminded of that in that moment, so it was truly special. One of the major key factors as to why Winter is able to be on stage is because she's at a point with her members where she can rely on them, and most of all, be understood by them. As an introvert myself, I can tell you one of the biggest ways for us to feel comfortable around people is to be understood by them. But yes, finally she was chosen for debut. Her and Karina's reaction to this exciting news is still iconic. While they seemed a little underwhelmed about debuting, we can understand this reaction on a deeper level from an interview Winter had with Naver back in 2020. I always wanted to debut, but when it was confirmed, I had thoughts like, am I good enough to debut? It's gonna be difficult. So I think those thoughts were an opportunity for me to practice even harder. Something I really appreciate about Aespa is how every member seems to want to work their hardest to fulfill the role of idol, and Winter is no exception. So I'd like to show how this manifests with her as an idol today. But if you're wondering how she got her stage name, it's because she had a pure image and was born in the winter. That's it. First, I've noticed how Winter really goes the extra mile to add to and understand the projects she works on. The way she gives active input to directors during music video filming. Or wants to record parts of songs herself that would otherwise just be taken from the demo.
아, 핑핑핑 그거 있어야 돼요.
있긴 있어.
아니 근데 그 사람이 녹음을 해야 돼요.
그럼 민정이가 해봐.
진짜요?
잘 나오면 그걸로 쓰고.
진심?
어.
핑핑핑.
하고 들을게.
Or how she tried to understand exactly why they're so upset over this corn guy in the long chat MV.
어쩌다가 이런 콘티를 짜게 되신 거예요?
And it makes sense. I would argue, out of all the members, she seems to pay the most attention to meaning and small details in music. Now, unfortunately, that has its downsides, especially if you're a perfectionist. Here's what she said on ET about that.
그냥 사실 이때까지 어떤 작품을 내더라도 항상 아쉬움이 따르는 거는 정말 어쩔 수 없는 것 같아요. 모든 사람이 난 100% 했어, 난 만족해, 이거는 모르겠어요. 다른 사람 모르겠지만 저는 아직 그래 본 적이 없어서.
Think about it. Winter hasn't felt completely satisfied with anything Aespa had put out as of 8 months ago. It was a little shocking to hear this, but sometimes I feel that way about my own videos. And while I think it's better to just be happy with what you make and simply learn from your mistakes, I think that sort of mindset shows that Winter really does care about what she's doing. Now, I claimed that Winter really values meaning in songs, and it's time to show you what I mean. Almost every song recommendation she makes is based on how the lyrics make her feel, like when she talked about Day 6's Time of Our Life, or Alessia Cara's Middle Ground. And on their most recent album, she talks about a line she likes from Prologue, and how it feels different than their previous comforting songs.
기존에 저희가 해줬던, 그러니까 위로해주는 곡은 진짜 약간 옆에서 이렇게 토닥거려주는 느낌이라면 이거는 조금 자신감을 부추겨주고 인생 2회차처럼 좀 같이 이렇게 끌어주고 좀 해주는 그런 노래인 것 같아요. 같이 힘내자 그런 느낌?
So it's no wonder why music holds deep meaning in Minjeong's life. It consoles her and has been a staple part of her identity since she was born. I think this, ultimately, is what has allowed her to accomplish her dream, even if every bus ride makes her feel the same emotional trauma that Luigi goes through in his mansion. For every bit as shy as she feels inside, she also feels that she's meant to be a singer, and showing that part of herself is the only way she can truly be herself. In order to show your confident side, I believe it's important to first spend time getting to know yourself. Confidence doesn't just appear out of thin air. It's an ongoing process that is also a reflection of how you feel about yourself. If you embrace who you are, you naturally become confident, and no one can take that away from you. I'd like to leave us off with a bit of a personal observation by me. Recently, I watched Winter's Okinawa vlog, and I could only think about just how much she suited vlogging in these beautiful, quiet, naturey areas. I think in this video, Minjeong is really in her element. It's a far cry from the bustling life of Seoul and the non-stop pace of the K-pop industry. In many ways, the whole vlog embodies Winter's role in the group. She's quiet and a little in her own world, but that's what people like about her. It's not a weakness whatsoever. And I think she's realized that. Even though she's so shy and quiet, the fact she's right where she dreamed of being as a child and embodying the hope she wanted to, well, that's amazing. It shows those sorts of things really don't have to hold you back. They can help you. They can heal others. So you know what? Good job, Winter. I think that's pretty neat. Thanks for watching. I'm glad I finally got to Winter. She was an idol I wanted to deep dive since I first started making these videos, but I decided to do Karina first instead and save her for later. It feels a little strange now that it's done, but let me know your own thoughts about Winter in the comments. Make sure to like and subscribe for more fun and insightful K-pop content, and I'll see you guys next time. Annyeong!